We have to do it for Big Boo. These people are lacking, as in they don't have firearms on them, so they're easier to.
Well, I mean, they're talking about drinking.
Right.
Boy, you still drinking? Where you at? I got to do it for Boo. These is lacking.
And we are back, and we're back. Y'all go ahead and hit that like button. It only takes a second, and you know it helps us out a lot. So go ahead and hit that like button for us. Y'all, what you're going to see today are a lot of evidentiary arguments back and forth over evidence. Things are just kind of getting, I don't know, out of control. They're getting a little bit, the professionalism's going down. You got Judge Whitaker, who drops the N-bomb today. You got the state that's trying to get all kinds of evidence that seems to not have anything to do with anybody, including, you know, guys trying to hook up with girls. We are really off the rails, okay? In case you didn't notice, we're almost in soap opera territory at this point. So I'm going to just shoot into a video of a kind of an extended clip of some things that happened today. Plus, of course, you know you're going to get the Whitaker N-bomb at the end. So one more thing before I get into the video, y'all. You know we're paralegal school, right? You know we've been doing this for 20 years, right? You know if you want to work with lawyers in the legal field, we can help you do that, right? Hit us up, careerparalegal.com, and we'll give you all the information. Other than that, let's get into the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Okay, I don't know. Y'all are going to have to explain.
I just want to know who the author of the image is. I'm trying to understand evidentiarily how this gets in.
Me too.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm pulling up the Cellbrite itself.
Okay.
But, you know, the green messages are statement of party opponent, are where he says on the PDF I'm looking at, he's mentioning the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford. And then in Cellbrite, defendant Stillwell.
Which number?
He is any green text, Your Honor, highlighted is going to be him.
Green, they have a green box around
Yes, Your Honor.
them?
Those are all statement of party opponents.
Because it says on the right, data source, and that's his number that ends in 8694?
Yes, Your Honor, and this is physically extracted from his physical phone. And so they took it to APD, and in Cellbrite or XRY or Gray Key, every message he sends in this entire phone is going to be in green.
Okay.
And that's from the physical phone itself.
All right. So are we only seeing his messages and it's not like a conversation? Just help me sort of understand what it is we're looking at.
It is a conversation. And so when you, in a couple minutes, I'll pull it up so the court can see how this system shows it, but you can search by messages, by files. And so when you look at messages, it will have in chronological order the entirety of text messages saved on the phone. You also can search by terms or search by communications between parties. And so what we will be seeing when we walk through this is sometimes a variety of those. In terms of this specific excerpt is a text conversation between defendant Stillwell and who he has saved in his phone as main with the emoji.
Okay.
So, Your Honor, if you go just scroll down, for example, to the next page, there's someone named Brett Rossi.
Right.
The person that is on the other end of the conversation is in a gray bubble.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just kind of how all these look. But I don't know. My objection to this is
This meaning go up above again, right?
One by one. That's not my client's words.
One by one is posted when? I mean, I see that apparently Mr. Stillwell's phone liked that image on 3/11 at 9:31 a.m. Is that what I'm supposed to take from this?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do we have, and is he talking when he likes the image to, is that a snake emoji? It's so small, I can't see it.
That is what I believe it is, Your Honor.
Okay. Main snake. So
I think it's actually a lizard. but-
Maine lizard then. We'll just call it Maine. Is that who posted one by one? Or do we know?
Your Honor, I'm pulling up the actual XRY. If one of them sent like a screenshot from Instagram, which that looks like Instagram where there's a song at the top left, if I'm trying to pull up to see if it was, I believe what happened is the person he's speaking with sent him a screenshot one by one.
Okay.
And he liked it. And so the phone would capture him liking that message, just like you could like a picture someone text you.
Right. Okay. All right. And Mr. Sharp, what's your objection then?
Well, I need to understand the relevance of this.
And when is the McMillan Ford? I may not have those names right. McMiller Ford.
It was on March 11th, the early morning hours of March 11th, 2022. Oh, it's not. It was the early morning hours of March 11th, 2022. Approximately, I think the police responded maybe around 2 or 3 a.m., Your Honor.
Okay. And so I guess this would be a suggestion that the one by one and liking that is a reference to those people's deaths. Is that right? Okay. Is that the theory?
The theory, which will be up for the jury to determine exactly what that meant, would be because of basically picking off the rivals one by one, shooting one by one the people who caused the double homicide death.
Well, but who wrote?
But no one's going to be, that is, the jury can make of that what, but that is.
But that's why y'all are offering it. So to say that these two buddies of ours died and we're going to get whomever killed them one by one?
Because on March 14th, Shamel Drinks has a picture with Kelvin Watts and Jasper Walters, who are publicly and quite aggressively disrespecting the double homicide publicly.
Has that evidence come in yet?
It is going to come in with investigator Viverito. So it has not been before the jury. So
Okay.
I'm not saying this, there is some evidence out there about this quite public disrespect of, there's one picture of a crossed out Mr. McMiller next to his child and says, "You didn't have a father now." So it is, there's no words for that level of disrespect. And so that is what is publicly being put out into Instagram around this time.
Okay.
Of course, we're going to get there today because these are the things that I think really do need to be litigated, but it doesn't apply to this. But there's no evidence that Mr. Stillwell saw any of these posts, to my knowledge.
It's Mr.
Not this one. I'm not talking about this one.
Well, right. Sounds like they don't even get posted until several days later. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe can the state articulate their position on why this is relevant?
So, Your Honor, the state, the text messages, I think we're all in agreement, are relevant in terms of the state has to put forth evidence of the impact of that. The state's theory is this was retaliation for that.
This
Shamel Drink's murder was
okay.
And so
Drinks' murder is retaliation for McMiller and Ford's murders a few days prior.
correct, Your Honor. So the text messages the state believes are, highly relevant to show, because you have to put forth evidence, and a private text message is good evidence of someone's state of mind of how that impacted the people by the state's theory that murdered Shamel Drinks because of that. And so when and then the specific photograph of one by one, that can be up to interpretation, but the state feels that it's relevant that immediately after stating that, I lost my brothers.
Well, it's not immediately after stating it. It's before stating it, isn't it?
I was pulling
I
up.
mean, at 9:31, Mr. Stillwell likes an image that is one by one, which y'all are saying is a song title. Is that right? No, that came.
So you can tell a song is playing because of the top left with Instagram.
Okay, well,
But you can caption.
It is so minute on what I'm looking at that I can't see
Yes, Your Honor.
anything other than that there is some image and some words. But you're saying if we look at it
And
in a real clear version, it's going to show some song playing.
yes, Your Honor. And I'm
The song significant?
no, Your Honor. The song's
Okay.
not significant.
Okay, so while a song is playing, Maine snaps a screenshot of it or screen grab or whatever of it, and Maine puts the words one by one on, ... on there, or what?
No, Your Honor. This is a whole other person's Instagram that posts one by one. And they are sending this screenshot between each other.
Okay, so some random human in the universe who is somehow, whomever has access to through Instagram, has, while listening to a song, posted one by one ... And it doesn't matter who that is or what that means. Maine sends that snap of the screenshot to Mr. Stillwell, who then likes the image. And the state's theory is that by liking an image that says one by one, because it's several hours after the murder of his compatriots, that indicates that he intends to get revenge for the murder. Am I following your theory?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
I do not know that Instagram handle. There is in my opinion, the two most highly likely
Well, if we
purposes
don't know,
of that
we
picture
don't-
is either it could be a rival of someone of YFN posting one by one, and then defendant Stillwell and Maine Slime are sending this photo to each other saying, look what they're publicly saying one by one. And that probably is what it is. I do not know who
we
that
don't know
Instagram
that.
handle is, but I think it's considering that this is sent on March 11th, and they are discussing this double homicide amongst each other, the impact, send this screenshot one by one, and then
Okay.
there is multiple.
You're saying they're discussing this homicide amongst each other, but it is over an hour later that Mr. Stillwell says, my brother got killed. Right?
Your Honor, I am pulling up the actual XRY to pull up the full file so I can.
Okay.
And from my perspective, we've been in this trial for a long time, and to just throw this post without any context or knowledge of who the author is or anything else, because the state I thought they were saying at first that this is some scheme going on where Maine Lizard is saying one by one, we need to get them one by one, and
But
Shannon's
apparently that's
liking.
not what they're saying.
Right. Well, there's a pretty big difference between those two things. And I keep going back. We don't know who the author is. And,
The author being the person who posted one by one.
right.
And I don't know. Yeah. I guess in order for us to accept the theory that Maine Lizard and Mr. Stillwell are, I don't know, conversing in some way about the potential for some sort of revenge, it would certainly be helpful for the state to be able to establish that was a rival gang member. Although if a rival gang member posted something like that, why you would like that instead of dislike it, I don't know.
Well,
but-
you could, I mean, theoretically, you could like the fact that Maine Lizard told you because people have been trying to kill you for years, and those same people are posting one by one. I would appreciate the heads up that of that knowledge. And so that's my point. These are two very vastly different theories, and I just don't know how we can just, from my perspective, just be throwing these things in front of the jury without even the knowledge of who wrote this and the context in which it's being considered.
Your Honor, the state can, if the court permits, admit the statement of party opponent of the text and not show the jury the attachment between
So
these
the
two.
statement by a party opponent is he liked an image?
No, Your Honor, the text beneath that. The state cannot show him liking the one by one.
Okay, so
And-
then that would be him saying, my brother got killed, and then him saying, and who is 3188? Because that seems to be a different phone number than Maine Lizard. So is this even the same? How can this even be the same text chain?
So, Your Honor, the green text is what is key to follow here, because when Detective Leonpacker ripped the phone, the SIM card is exchanged like quite frequently in the phone. And so this raw phone, the message sent from this,
Right?
there is multiple numbers for whatever reason or purpose, but there's SIM cards switching this phone. But this phone, this message, the green is from...
Mr. Stillwell.
Yes.
I got it. So this is Mr. Stillwell saying, in an entirely different conversation from the liked image, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
My brother got killed.
Correct.
And then a few minutes later to the same person saying, I had to hurry. I couldn't even think straight. Man, I'm effed up right now. I'm going to just holler at you later. Okay. Is
Yeah.
there objection to that? To Mr. Stillwell expressing grief at having lost somebody he knows?
No.
Okay.
Although I will just say in the presentation of any of this to the jury, if there are clear conversations like going back between 625-3188, I don't have a problem with displaying them together, but I don't believe factually that if you looked at my client's phone, it would go from the Maine Lizard to the 3188. So I think when we change people we're talking with, we probably need to have different exhibits, because it creates an impression that there was this, then this, and this. And I don't think factually that's correct. And I'm not saying the state is doing this.
Yeah, I don't know why these were under the same thing, but
And Your Honor, the state has no, the state agrees with Mr. Shart that when published to the jury, it will be clear that, whatever context or just that message itself.
okay.
The way the reason they're saved like this is, the data is massive in XRY. And so the main point was to highlight what the state intends to introduce through this phone. Not necessarily, that's why it has the titles at the top of
Okay. But at the point in time when you introduce this, it's just going to be the 1039 and then the 1043 comments by Mr. Stillwell to 3188. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. So then the next, I guess, conversation is between.
So Mr. Nichols is Maine Lizard. Now,
Okay, but we're not using that one at this point. Do we know who, not that it never mind. It doesn't matter right now. Okay, moving on. His conversation with Brett Rossi.
I would ask the state for the relevance of
Have
this.
we not established by now that Mr. Stillwell is from the Cleveland Avenue area of the city?
No, Your Honor.
We haven't?
Not Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Stillwell.
That's amazing. Okay. All right. Well, then I guess that's relevant.
Is that the point of this?
Yeah, well, frequents that area. We believe he's from Thomasville Heights, but he definitely frequents the Cleveland Avenue, or maybe he considers himself from Cleveland Avenue, but we have not established Mr. Stillwell himself.
Okay.
Okay, if that's the relevance, I don't have any problem.
All righty. Moving on to the next one, which is Mr. Stillwell and Funk.
I know, but, okay.
What's the point of this one? To show that they hang? Is there, well, I guess I should say, is there an objection?
I just don't understand the relevance. I think it's pretty.
Relevance?
Withdraw that.
All righty, they're not going to use that one. Okay, we've gotten through that folder. Or that subfolder. All right, go back out, and then the next thing is places. And this would be like where they grabbed his location from the phone? Or what is, okay. And so this is going to show that on 3/16 at 6:24, he's at Concourse Parkway. Is that where he picks up the
Yes.
rental car? We've already established that. I mean, we saw him there at the rental car agency. So is there an objection?
I just didn't see the relevance. It's cumulative. If
Okay.
that's the purpose of it,
Is that the only purpose?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm going to sustain the cumulative objection. All righty, and then we've got him at the day before, early in the morning, somewhere on Lucky Street. Is there an objection?
I didn't understand the relevance.
Relevance. What's relevance? Okay. All right, let's go back out. And then our next subfolder is web. Web searches. And y'all, the Drinks murder is 3:14 at around 9:30 p.m., right?
10.
10, okay, somewhere, but yes, you're right, okay.
So, I mean, I understand the relevance to this. I'll let the court know that there was plenty of links sent to Mr. Stillwell and other people immediately after that death, inquiring if he's safe because there was news that someone was killed in the game.
And this is all 3 days later anyway, okay.
And this is the same day that this appears to be the day after their home was shot up. So
Their home being
this
a
is
lot of pronouns here.
a day after Waters Road was shot up, and then earlier in the morning before he was arrested, Your Honor. So we think that
So the Waters Road, what time?
so Waters Road occurred at approximately 12 a.m. on March 16th.
So midnight going from the 15th to the 16th?
Yes, Your Honor.
So these are about 26 hours later.
Okay, and so these are things that he accessed over a full day later that deal with the fact that
Mr.
Drinks had been killed.
Yes.
Over 3 days after.
Well,
Drinks had been killed.
right. And just that he accessed them. We don't know if it was him looking them up or somebody sending him a link and
Correct,
him
Ron.
hitting it or whatever.
But the fact that
Okay,
searches
that
for
he-
that particular murders in his phone.
Well, we keep saying search.
That's, yeah. Are you showing that he searched for, like he sat down and typed into Google, Fox 5 Atlanta, Drinks killing?
Or that this website information is in his phone. We believe it's from a search of going.
He accessed it. You
Yes.
don't know whether he searched for it or whether somebody sent him a link and said, oh my gosh, look at what just happened.
Right. At some point, it opened up on his phone. So whether he searched it himself or someone sent it, it was accessed on his phone. Yes, Sean.
I'm going to object to under 403, and the reason is
There's a big difference between, oh, I'm going to go look at this information under the state's theory that I'm the one that committed it. Let me find out what is being published about it versus somebody sends me a link. Oh my gosh. And who knows whether these people even know each other, but assuming they did, so-and-so got killed. Oh, wow. Let me see.
You're right, but I think there is some relevance that there are multiple links to the same shooting, especially after.
So
And what else is going to come into evidence, Your Honors, are going to be other posts. I believe it's Mr. Stillwell's post after Mr. McMillan, Mr. Ford is murdered, that says we're not going to be the only ones crying tonight. So the fact that after the murder of Mr. Drinks, that there are any searches or any information sent to him about the murder of Mr. Drinks is extremely relevant, given that
3 days later,
But
if
this
it was
is-
like 2 hours later, it might be extremely relevant.
But
3
this is
days
all-
later, it might be relevant because relevance is a low standard. But the argument on the other side is it's overly prejudicial.
but it's also after their home was shot up and after we believe that when police went to the house, when police responded to that location, that very soon after police responded, all of the stuff in that home was gone by the time police did a search warrant on that house on March 17th. So the fact that you are group searching at 2:30 in the morning, or this information is being sent to you at 2:30 in the morning, is relevant. This is still within only
2:30 in the morning, 3 days after Drinks is killed, and over a day after the Waters Road home is shot up,
And I think
right?
that's still information that is relevant and not substantially prejudicial, overly prejudicial, because of what is happening between these two gangs for the days leading up.
Between these two gangs, except that you have yet to establish that Mr. Drinks was in a rival gang. You're saying you're going to be able to do that?
We're going to be able to show that he was at least associating with individuals. The individual Barter, who he was with the day that he was murdered, is a member of YFN. We have other pictures that are going to come out very soon, that will come out through investigative Vivarito, we believe, that show that after this murder, they did not know who he was initially on day one. However, very soon, they saw other YFN members reposting him saying, rest in peace. That is when they learned of his association with YFN. And again, specifically, the individual who is known as Barter is also Christian Johnson. That is the person who was in the car with him. So the state will establish that there was an association, at least with a number of YFN members, given what was posted
All right,
in the
and
hours
you're
afterwards.
not necessarily going to be able, I don't even hear you saying you're going to be able to establish that Mr. Stillwell knew that Mr. Drinks was an associate of YFN. They're just, and it's an inference to be made. Is that right?
It is an inference
Okay.
because there's a picture that was posted on at least March 12th in which Mr. Shell Keller, Kelvin Watts, reposted a picture with Mr. Drinks, an individual by the name of Jasper Walters, who is a known YFN member, and Shell Kell, that has two 2 shell emojis and 2 black zipper emojis, and we believe those emojis subliminally.
You're using the word wrong again, but okay. Like a hidden message.
A hidden
which is not the same
message.
thing as subliminal, but okay.
Oh, okay. So that we believe that those 2 messages were a message that they may have been the ones responsible for the death of McMiller and Ford. So those Instagram posts, which are relevant, we believe will come in. So to establish that it is relevant that he would be even concerned about this.
Okay.
Or that
Accessing a news article does not in any way indicate you are concerned about
Okay, not
anything. You have accessed a news article.
So when you access the news article and it appears multiple times.
Okay, and you do not know whether he searched it or whether somebody sent him the link. Is that right?
That is true, Your Honor.
Okay.
But the fact that people are sending the link of that particular murder, and we have calls on the wiretap in which they talk about, I think there's a call with Demekion Garlington in which people ask, why did they shoot up the house? And Demekion Garlington says, because their homeboy got killed in Mechanicsville last night. This is what.
And in that is that the day after Drinks is killed?
This is a few days later after Drinks is killed.
No, when Garlington says, cause homeboy got killed last night.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, that one. But there's some other ones as well. So I think that this is relevant and not substantially prejudicial given the timeline of what has occurred between really March.
The yet to be established timeline. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor, but that's because we're still putting.
I know you're still putting evidence up. I know.
And my 403 objection isn't just prejudice, it's also confusion to the jury because, and I think this is kind of proving my point or my argument in some ways because what I'm trying to avoid is we are on the 2-yard line of getting to the end of this case. And it seems to me that there is a potential that the state is just going to try to throw a bunch of stuff out there.
I think that's what the state's been doing this whole trial.
Well, I think I'm concerned about this with Viverito. Like, for instance, when they just talked about the post by Shell Cal, there is no evidence that I know of that Shannon has ever seen that post. And with this, we have no idea as we sit here, and this is why I'm concerned about these Viverito files where it's just kind of a bunch of things thrown in there. We have no idea if it was a link sent, if it was a search. We have no idea of any of that.
Right.
And the jury will have no idea.
And you will have to point that out to them. So it's relevant, again, because of the low threshold for relevance. And it is, I mean, in terms of confusion, I don't think that they're going to be able to establish more than that this was accessed.
These were accessed, these were searched for by the defendant. There's no messages where he received them. I've gone through the phone extracting. He went on to Safari and we either went to Fox 5 and clicked on the Windsor, whatever the title is, Windsor Homicide in Atlanta, or he typed in Windsor Homicide in Atlanta and that's what was accessed with the Fox 5.
All right, and this is coming in through
It's phone now.
I know. Which witness is going to be explaining, here's how we get these things, and here's what we can tell from them?
It'll be a combination of Kevin Landpacker and Marissa Viverito.
Well, let's hope it's mainly Leon Packer, who seems to actually have expertise in cell phone search dump things. I don't know about Viverito's ability to say any of this.
And this may change after this conversation. My understanding going into today that the state's plan was just to admit the dump through Leon Packer and then have Viverito explain everything. And that's my concern.
Does she have the expertise to be able to explain any of this?
So, Your Honor, Viverito has probably gone through 500 phones. She is in the gang unit, has actively phone dumps and Cellbrite. When I personally am taking in preps Detective Leon Packer, who's currently with the FBI.
Okay, and I know that he has expertise in it because he's testified about it in other of my own cases.
Correct, Your Honor. So what the state intends to do with Detective Leon Packer he was asked Detective Vito goes to Leanne Packer as she's done hundreds of times. Can you help me extract this phone? I have
Right.
a search warrant for it. Yes.
Okay.
Boom. Leanne Packer will describe for the jury how XRY works, gray key works, all of that, what it means, what does the data come like when you get a message. He's not going to be publishing stuff because he never reviewed the content, but he was going to discuss and talk about how the data is kept. I may use like I'm not intending on using what we're litigating now with Detective
Right.
Leanne Packer because he didn't personally go through this stuff. I may show like the central XRY, home screen that shows messages in Safari, but he's obviously.
All right. Well, I don't think messages, I think most people grasp that messages can be extracted from phones, but something like this that's showing web access. And we are all saying, well, okay, can you tell from this whether it was something that was sent or whether it was a search that he generated? Can anybody answer that question?
Yes, Your Honor. What we are showing, defendant Stillwell access, search that. That is what we're showing.
Accessed it and searched it are not necessarily the same thing. I can access a link that you send me, or I can search for the same thing myself and find that same link. Is there any way to determine from this?
Yes, it's a search. You see where it says, there's one, for example, at 3:17, 2:33, 31 a.m. where it says web address is fox5atlanta.com/search. Where it says search there, that means he has searched for that web address.
Where does it say search? The one that said, sorry, it's about 1, 2, 5 or 6 down.
Or you could even go to the second one down where it says it's
Okay.
similar, where it says fox5atlanta.com. You see where it says search? That means he searched for the specific.
Okay, I don't see that. I guess it's cut off. The /SE
Yes.
is going to ultimately say search.
Yes.
And is some witness going to be able to explain when you see /search, that means that it was a search?
Detective Leanne Packer will be able to adequately explain that to a
Okay.
level that few people can.
Okay. All right then. So we do know that some of these were searches.
That's correct.
Well, and Your Honor, while we're saying some of these, I'm looking at,
I mean, I don't think we can see everything because it doesn't show the entirety of it. Are we going to be able to see the entirety of it?
Yes, Your Honor.
If there's a Zoom link I can share.
So like another one down there's like that one that has the red arrow, the one below that. You can't, both of those, you can't even see the end of, and I'm sorry, I don't know what the term is, but whatever that long string of slashes and dots and things are, you can't even see the end of it to see whether it says search. And then the next one down, you can't either. It's fox5atlanta.com/in. So do we know what those are?
Your Honor, we're double checking, but it's my understanding that this section came from the portion of his phone that says searches. So when you look at XRY, it has different categories. When you open up the searches categories, this is what.
All right. Well, if he's able to, if there is a witness who is able to explain that, and then somebody can ask, does this include things that are sent to you? And he can say yes or no. I'm going to overrule the objection.
my other concern, Your Honor, is the presentation. I'm not an expert in these phones, but I'm just common sense wise. I'm looking at this. If you look at the time accessed, the earliest time that I see is 2:31:56 a.m. It appears page title Fox 5. Okay, so someone goes to Fox 5 at 2:31 a.m. They're there at 2:33 a.m. Okay, that's not a search of anything. That's just being on Fox 5 website. And then, based on what Mr. Abadi's saying, which I'm not saying is incorrect or correct, but it says 2:33:31 a.m. and that's the search. And then it's just Fox 5 again. So while we have this big list that's creating the impression that there's a bunch of searches, it appears that all this really amounts to is one time going on Fox 5 and then doing one search.
I don't know whether it does or not. I guess Leon Packer will be able to tell us that.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what both of these pages is, this one thing, essentially this one topic. Okay. And he'll be able to tell us, is this 8 or 12 different searches, or is this just it refreshes and you're still on the page or something like that? Okay. All right, so is he going, I know he didn't look at it. You're saying he just did the dump, sorted it all out, and gave it to Viverito, right? But Viverito is not going to be able to tell us the answer to any of those questions, is she?
Your Honor, I do very much believe that she is very much equipped with her training experience to discuss, because she reviews these almost daily. I'm not saying
that doesn't mean she knows what they mean.
But she's had training on it, and defense can voir dire across. We're not putting her up as a cell phone extraction expert. We have Detective Leonpacher, who was going to describe that. But
right, but how about just have him look at that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and
Yes,
then
Your Honor.
he can explain it to us.
Yes, Your
'Cause
Honor.
I don't know that. I mean, I haven't heard anything that would make Viverito able to answer those questions. So as long as it's not much for him to look at. It's less than 2 pages.
Yes,
have
Your
him
Honor.
look at that, and then he can explain it.
Yes, Your Honor. And
All right. Okay, and maybe she can say, "Oh, here's why it was significant in my estimation," because she's the investigator. But all right, let's move on to the next topic.
So, Your Honor, the next one is a saved video.
Okay.
And it's a man. I do not know who it is. Maybe the state knows who it is.
This is a 12 March one.
Yes, he seems to. Yes, Your Honor, and he seems to be playing like DJ at home from his home and broadcasting on Instagram. And once in a while, he'll rap along with the lyrics. And I will tell you that I'm fully aware that he's playing songs. Well, he mentions Haiti Gang, If Gang in the third song. He does say FUCK YSL in between songs. I don't know who he is. He apparently doesn't like YSL. Don't know why that's relevant.
And this is something, where did this come from?
so, Your Honor, this was saved in defendant Stillwell's phone.
Okay.
And when the crime scene photographs get introduced of the March 11th double murder of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, the vehicle that they were driving, he pulls up that video because it hit the news. The person who is actively saying FUCKYSL puts the bullet-ridden car of Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford on his public Instagram and is publicly saying,
Okay, that's a part of this video which for me has not opened.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And so the state feels that that level of blatant disrespect is highly relevant in the state's gang retaliation murder. I can't think of something more heartless than posting a bullet-ridden car after someone has been murdered on a highway and publicly, that is...
Okay, so this video, in addition to him playing DJ, has him posting on the video the car that McMiller and Ford were killed in.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's a blurry video. It's about it's a
And
very blurry video.
For whatever reason, Mr. Stillwell has that video saved in his phone.
Right, and we
Okay.
don't know who this man is.
What's your objection?
Relevance 403. We don't know who this man is at all, unless the state knows. And he's just disparaging YSL, and it's in my client's phone.
All right, that's relevant and not overly prejudicial. Now, given that I have yet to be able to open the video, how long is the video?
He goes through 3 songs. It's about 8 minutes, I would say.
And Your Honor, I will pull it up. I believe that that's accurate. The state does not intend to play. He's playing music. The state's going to play, and I can get those time hacks. And for to Mr. Shart, it's going to be when he's publishing the bullet-ridden car, and when he's saying
Bad things about
correct,
YSL.
correct.
Okay. All right. The next thing says location video. What is this?
I think that's just the location of in Mr. Stillwell's phone that the video is found.
Okay.
Were
Is
they-
that just showing this video was found in his phone? All right.
Were we nuts and bolts of presenting this evidence? Were you guys seeking to admit this actual photo itself? I assumed you weren't, but if you are, I guess we just got to make sure there's nothing else on the photo.
No, I don't think he intends to introduce the photo, but to have a reference of the date and time that the video was saved to the phone.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay. All right, moving on to the next subfolder. That would be the first of several iPhone mini subfolders. There's a PDF within that. So this is more text from within the phone, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there objection to any of those?
I just want to make sure I'm on the same one.
This one says 10/28/24. I'm not sure why, but
I think that was the date that they created this. This one, I believe, I believe the state believes this is Woody Lee. Is that correct? Conversation with Woody Lee.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any objection to this conversation. Can I just ask to state one thing? When these are compiled, this is the entire conversation over a certain time frame between the 2 individuals.
That's correct.
Okay, so nothing's been redacted or deleted or anything like that.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a.
all right. With any of it, it's several pages long.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And we will move on to the next iPhone mini subfolder. So this is a different text chain.
Yes, Your Honor, this is.
Is there objection to this one?
What was the relevance?
So there's a relevance objection. Do we know who he's talking to?
So we'll withdraw views of this one. The point of this one was to show that around the time Mr. Stillwell was using this phone.
Okay, well, they're withdrawing that one. All right, so then we're in the third iPhone mini folder. So this is Shannon texting Mr. Steele.
No, we're not gonna use that one.
Okay, withdrawing that one. So the fourth folder has a file and a PDF and an export. What should we look at first?
And Judge, I'll withdraw this one too. because
All right.
it establishes a shooting on the expressway.
Okay. So
I'm sorry.
they're withdrawing it.
Is this the one with 224-391-9924? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to, what is the fifth of the Stillwell iPhone mini folders? And that one contains a chat with Bottom Boy for Life. And I guess you read up from the bottom?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So this text chain starts in the afternoon of March 11th of 2022. On the 12th, they're booking sessions, presumably in a studio. And then Mr. Stillwell asked him to bring some bullets, which I assume is why y'all want this. And then they're talking sessions again on the 14th. Talking about dropping songs and videos. And then that's it, right? Oh, and the very first page is like a summary of the things that are significant, or a sampling of the chat, or what is that? Because that's where it's got the.
So I knew Mr. Sharp would want the entire conversation, so I obviously printed or was able to get the entire conversation, but the very first page is what's relevant, that's why it's highlighted.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but that isn't all of that you're going to show. You're going to show the whole conversation, or what's your intent?
My intent would be to show the first page.
Okay.
Show that we can admit it with the full conversation, but it's in order. That first page with the bottom.
All right. I think that's. Is there an objection?
Well, there is. I think that.
What's the objection?
Unless there's something prejudicial, I think we need to have the entire conversation.
Okay, I would sustain that. So the full conversation can come in. The highlight sheet is confusing, misleading.
I did not believe that the state was planning on introducing that.
So it's a good thing I asked,
Yes, I appreciate it.
because it was confusing me. So let's just, for the rule of completeness, put the whole conversation in.
Well, there's some where the whole conversation is going to be 800.
Well, maybe there won't be an objection to those. We'll see as we go along. All right. So no objection as long as that
I'm going to object for the record to the 3/12/22 statement. Bring me some FM bullets, like 15.
And-
the reason I'm saying that is because this is leading up to the Drinks murder. Mr. Drinks was not, the ballistics do not come back to an FN gun. There's no link to the Drinks murder.
Well, then that's good for you.
That
But
is true.
the fact that he's asking for bullets is relevant on the state side.
Thank you.
Okay. So overruling that objection and moving to our next folder down. Do we know who he's talking to here? Or what that attachment is?
So, Your Honor, I'll withdraw this one. This was also about the highway or.
All right, withdrawn.
Are we, we're talking about the one with D?
All right, so we're now at the last of the iPhone mini subfolders within this subfolder.
I got confused. I'm sorry. D is Demikion, Garlington. That's why this entire, I apologize, that's why this entire text chain is relevant.
All right, so we need to go back up then, back
Sorry.
to that one. Okay. So the second to the bottom of the folders, this is a conversation with Mr. Garlington,
Yes, Judge.
and it starts on March 7th.
So in the beginning of the conversation, some context, there's a lot going on in Shannon's phone. There's a few things, and they're easily confused. Miss Alexander, who is on the state's witness list, who is the owner of a gun that the state is alleging Mr. Stillwell was in possession with on the 17th when he was arrested. That's his girlfriend at the time.
That's the one he goes and gets the car with.
Yes. So there's a lot going on. Miss Alexander made an allegation about a fight between her and Mr. Stillwell. Okay, so there's talk about police reports involving that.
Okay.
Simultaneously, Miss Alexander, there's actually a video of it, and it was complete self-defense, but she was walking into an apartment complex, and two people with masks and guns out ran up on her. Miss Alexander pulled out the FN gun, which is her gun, and started shooting multiple times. And this is on video, and she was never charged.
Okay.
But there's a lot of concern about, Miss Alexander is the one that's initially asking about renting cars and all that, because there's concern that the robbers are coming after Miss Alexander because she was so bold to shoot at them when they had guns out and were robbing her. So there's a lot of police talk. I'm going to object to, for instance, the beginning of this,
Yeah.
which if we're going backwards, it's 19 going to 18 because it's Mr. Stillwell in a very inartful ways expressing his frustration with Miss Alexander for calling the police on him and putting his jeopardy at risk. So I'm trying to give the context and the
Okay.
background of some of these things.
All right, so go into the bottom, page 19, and then up onto page 18. and how these are all conversations on March 7th. Is there any relevance to any of the conversation on March 7th?
So I guess this is the frustrating part. I provided all of it because that's what was requested.
Okay.
But obviously we don't care what happened.
All right. So where do y'all want to start with what you would be interested in presenting?
Right. So. So, page 6 of 19.
6. Okay. Thank you. And I appreciate, and I'm sure Mr. Shard appreciates you giving the full conversation so that he can sort it out. All right. Going to page 6. At this point, we're on March 12th in the evening. Where y'all fixing to go? And then Meat got killed? Question mark. I don't know. People are talking about it on Twitter. Mr. Shannon says, what happened? And this is Garlington? I don't know.
Right, and I don't believe.
That doesn't seem relevant because they didn't move on from that.
And I don't.
I might get me a session.
I don't believe meat has anything to do with this case either.
What's the state's position on that? Nobody seems to know anything about it. This is just like, oh my gosh, I heard something.
Okay, we won't use it.
All right. So moving up to page 5. Is there anything on there? Okay. So page 4. Be ready, bro. Been ready. Share your location. And then he says, be there in 3 minutes. Turn it on your street outside.
This is the day of the murder, Your Honor.
Okay.
And Demekion Garlington is believed to be in the car with defendant Stillwell when they shoot and kill Shamel Drinks.
All right. So this is just showing that he possibly is still in the car 6 hours later. 5 hours later.
No, this is before.
Correct, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. Right. No. This conversation is before, and it is being offered to show that at some point in time, they appear in the afternoon to have been riding around together. And so 5 hours later, Garlington might still have been in the car with him. Do we already know that from the video?
No, Your Honor. We have phone records that places
Okay.
Garlington at the gas station around the time of the murder, and we're also at the time, Your Honor, we are on a wiretap with Mr. Garlington that also placed him in the location, but also some of those calls, Your Honor, that the court has listened to with the wiretap calls are from the day of the murder. One of the calls that I think the court has excluded was the call in which Mr. Garlington, I don't know if you remember the call that Mr. Garlington is on the phone with Mr. Boyer, and Mr. Boyer says, tell Shannon I'm around, or I'm hurrying up. That is the call that we believe establishes that both Mr. Garlington and Mr. Stillwell are together at the time of the murder.
Okay. All right. So this one that shows they were together.
Just that they have been together all that day,
Well, it
March
doesn't-
14th. We do think that establishes some relevance because we believe that Mr. Garlington goes to the tent place with Mr. Stillwell. We believe that we have information of that from the wiretap as well, Your Honor, but that's not coming in. That's not coming in. We also have Mr. Stillwell's location data to show that they went to go get the car tinted. And so we believe the fact that Mr. Garlington is with him most of the day on the 14th is relevant.
It does not show that he is with him most of the day on the 14th. It shows that at just before 5 p.m. on the 14th, he seems to pick him up.
Yes, Your Honor. 5
Right.
p.m. we believe that the information about the tent is after that location as well. But around 5 p.m., at least from 5 until 10 o'clock p.m., we believe they're together.
Okay. And so is there any objection to that?
I'm going to concede the relevance to that. I do have a question as we're working through this. In this chat, there's these WCFs and MP3s. And this one on page 4, there's WCF. Do we know anything about what that is or means?
I think it's VCF, but
Oh,
yes,
yeah, VCF.
that's.
I'm sorry. What is it? WCF? VCF.
I mean, I suspect it's him sharing his location, since right before that it says share your location. But
Correct. If you're in the phone number and you click on it, it'll shares his location. This is the easiest way to share it with everyone. We
That's fine.
Mistakenly go through the phone number.
that's fine. Okay, so these, I guess, pages 4 and 3.
Yes,
Will come 3 up to number 5 will come in, right? And we don't know what the MP3, that's just some song they're listening to or something. We don't know.
That's right. It's a song.
Okay. So okay, and then the next thing is midnight-ish the next morning. Trying to hit this girl, his sister. Yeah. You good?
I believe that would be conversations of what's going on at the studio. I'm fine
So
with that.
presumably, right, by 12:17 they are not together, presumably, which is fine. But okay, so pages 3 and 4 will be coming in from this one. All right, so moving down to the last of the folders within this little group. Do we know who he's talking to in this one? Mech. And where is the relevant part start?
I'm not sharing any attorney-client privilege material. I will say from the context of the chat, it appears that it's another young lady that he's having some sort of sexual relation.
Is
Paramour.
So is there any relevance on this? What is this being offered for?
No, I think the objection would be cumulative.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's.
If you go down, if you were to look at the whole PBS,
Uh-huh.
it's talking about the expressway shooting and how Big Chris got killed. So I pulled everything that related to relevant things as I was going through the phone. But I would assume the objection is going to be cumulative because we're talking about Big Dead Bra and is it Christian Spot, which would have been one of the people who was shot. So, and it's Christian shot. So they're talking about Ford and McMiller getting shot on the expressway. So I can withdraw this sheet or this chain because I assume the objection would be cumulative.
If that was the purpose of it, to show his basically his knowledge of the Christian McMillan.
Yes.
Okay. I think it is cumulative, but and I don't think anyone's going to deny that he had knowledge of that.
You don't think anybody's going to what?
I don't think anyone, meaning me, is going to deny that he had knowledge of the Christian McMillan. There is for that.
Okay, so, I mean, that's... So are you objecting or
I
not?
think it's cumulative.
And are objecting on that basis? Okay. And does the state want to insist on this or, okay, the state will withdraw this. All right. So I think then we go back out to the beginning of this link, Dropbox link, and we'll move on to the folder that says iPhone 13. And within that folder, there are 5 subfolders. Shall we just start with audio files at the top?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
May I make a suggestion? Maybe, I believe that there's going to be three more chats.
Okay.
Maybe just go through.
Yeah,
the
that's
3
fine.
chats.
All right, so down to the the first of the Shannon Stillwell iPhone 13 subfolders. Do we know who he's talking to here?
The first one, Taisha, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor. At the time, that was Mr. Stillwell's girlfriend.
Miss Alexander.
Yes.
Okay. Any objection? And I guess the relevant part and starts on what page? 28?
Yes.
All right. So, and I guess we'll see whether there's an objection to or rule of completeness objection on this one or not, because it looks like if we look at the kind of summary sheet, it's that first page where she's saying whatever she's saying and he's saying whatever he's saying back. Mr. Shard, is there an objection to that? And do you want the entire 28 pages in, or do you just want there to be some sort of an indication through whomever this comes in with? There was other chit chat, but here's the relevant part of it, and we condensed it.
I would like the context, and I believe the state has done this, but to the extent that that hasn't been done, there is, and I get it. There's talk about the rental, extending the rental, all of these things. I don't have a problem with that. My concern, and I've articulated to the state, and I think they've addressed it, is that there was a lot of sex talk and things of that nature, and any references to the unrelated case of Miss Alexander making accusations against Mr. Stillwell in Cobb County, which was Miss Alexander was trying to straighten things up with what really happened with the investigators to withdraw that warrant at that time. And so that's in the conversations, but
Is that within the first 28 pages?
it appears to me that the state has redacted it.
Okay. Okay, so the state will publish this. Well, I guess we'll seek the admission of the first 28 pages.
Yes, sir.
And is there an objection to that? Assuming that the 2 items you just mentioned have been redacted out.
There is, yes.
Okay.
On page 8, I almost forgot about this. On page 8, there's some drug talk on the bottom. I would object to that.
So not the nachos, right?
No, not the nachos are good.
Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Okay, sorry.
Adding.
On the wrong page.
Adding this address, not the house.
Oh, okay. I was reading things in the worst way possible.
Reading like a prosecutor, Mr. Sharp.
Don't say that.
That's me, Mr. Adams.
Well, he's reading it like a cautious criminal defense attorney. Okay, so no objection to this 28 pages. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Then we'll look at the next folder. Who's he talking with this time? Do we know?
I believe it's another female.
It's a paramour.
Okay. And
The important part about it,
is that he deleted his Instagram?
correct.
Okay.
The day after the murder.
Well, may I just have a,
Mm-hmm.
right. My understanding, based on the conversation with Miss Alexander, is that Can I come back to that? I didn't realize. I honestly didn't realize that that was the state's point of this one, and I think I'd like to talk to the state about it.
Okay, we'll come back to that one. So moving on to the third file.
I believe, and I don't know how the mechanics of the phone work, but I believe that this is a duplicate of the VM conversation that was in the other phone.
That's correct.
That I think the state withdrew. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So are y'all withdrawing this one also?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So where to next?
There's the iPhone notes is very quick.
Okay. What is this showing? And is there any objection?
My understanding is that the facts, as they come out, will reveal that Mr. Stillwell was in the studio. This is a lyric that was put in like the notes section of his phone, like I can remember something or something like that. And I believe the facts will show that he was in the studio at that time. So I'm going to object relevance in 403 and hear from the state.
Your Honor, Mr. Shard is correct in terms of the state does believe he's at the studio. The state included this because this is March 15th at 12:52 a.m. So the murder we believe is March 14th at around 10 o'clock, 10:02 p.m. And so a couple hours later, while at the studio, this is just a note that, just like what Mr. Shard said, he typed, like you can make an Apple note to yourself to save. And the second line says, poor little ops, which the state believes is opposition gang members, look how they're just dropping. So the state believes, and then jury confer what they want, that this is relevant because roughly almost a little shy of 3 hours later, he's in a studio making music, and he's writing a line that the state believes is about 3 hours after a murder of a opposition member.
And the line is, poor little ops look like they dropped him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I don't see that anywhere on there, but I assume.
It's on the right side, Your Honor, under details, where
Oh, there it is.
And-
okay.
this specific one, it's a screenshot from the XRY system. So the left is all the messages, and if you
Okay.
click one, it opens it on the right.
Thank you.
Yes,
All right.
Your Honor.
What's the objection?
Relevance in 403.
All right. Overruled.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Logistically, when the state introduces this, now that it's been ruled admissible, like, are we gonna show this whole sheet with all this other stuff? Or are we just gonna,
No, we will just show that note, Mr. Chard.
okay, and then someone will be able to explain where it came from in his phone and all the rest?
Correct.
And that is while he's in the studio.
Well, him being in the studio part would come from the person discussing this cell phone extraction won't be able to say, where there's other evidence about his location, because it's a little unique, because you have an ankle monitor, you have cell phone records, and you have the wiretap. But yes, Your Honor, which sometimes.
Okay. So that takes us to the audio files, I guess. So this is trying to identify people that various people are hanging and or sleeping with as either on their side or with another group.
Your Honor, I will not use those pages. I'll skip to, I won't bury the lead. Let's go to 8921 and 8922.
All right.
So 8922, OG King says, tell that girl to stay in Summerhill, which is where YFN, If Gang, what territory is. This shit's deeper than rap. She can't be both. You're either with us or you're against us. There's no in between. She gets beat the fuck up next time she's in the park.
Yeah. If you want to have that, that's at least talking about something directly that seems to be indicating this is more than who you rap with.
Now, Your Honor, I'm gonna object. I understand that you're finding relevant.
Because your client is nowhere in this.
Right. I just
Conversation?
This is not OG.
Okay.
This is OG King, my client,
Yeah.
and I don't understand how this is furthering anything.
Okay.
And Your Honor, this is the group thread that he's a part of. So it's multiple YSL members talking about beating the hell out of this person.
Well,
I mean, they say beat the FUCK up next time. I think it's a highly relevant talk about exacting violence on a rival street.
well, it would be highly relevant maybe if any of these people were in trial for beating up this woman. So I don't know about highly relevant.
I guess I should say, Your Honor, I shouldn't have said relevant was not the word I meant. I meant gang co-conspirator statements of identifying an opposition gang member and exacting violence, which in the States,
Saying they're going to exact violence.
correct, which ends up being murder in the State's position with,
Well, nobody who's sleeping with both of the gang members or up gangs ends up murdered as far as I know of with regard to this indictment, right?
And Your Honor, I guess what I meant is, they're not just talking about, like, the state feels it is gang co-conspirator 801D2E for them to be discussing exacting violence on a rival gang member amongst each other. That's the state's position. And defendant Stillwell is a part of this group thread. And so the state believes that
Well,
this
it's
is
hardly an
admissible.
adoptive admission because these apparently everybody this age just spends the entirety of their lives on 700 million different group threads that unless you were watching it at the time, you don't go back and say, well, what did these people say 15 minutes ago? Because it's, 1,000 different tweets or threads or whatever comments by the time they pull up their phone and see what's going on the group thread.
Yes, Your Honor.
I just think we're so far afield.
We are very far afield.
We're talking about unfunk having sex.
I mean, yeah, just 403. I'm excluding all of this.
Your Honor, can I go to the thread where they're talking about shooting wife and Lucci?
I mean, yeah, that would at least have some, cogent potential connection to this trial. Yes. Where would that be?
Go to page 9839. The whole YFN is at the Chevron Blue Ivory shooting a video. Lucci's out there. Gray Audi. Lucci's in it. And a black X6 truck. My rental doesn't have paper plates, but it can slide.
That seems relevant.
All right, pull up with the shit.
Mr.
Hadn't found 9839 yet, but whatever you're reading sounds relevant.
Are we getting rid of everything?
I will check between, but I wanted to get to the most 801D2 statement I could possibly find that I think this satisfies the street gang element of trying to shoot wife and Lucci.
All right. That's admissible. Wherever it is, that page is admissible.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Before we get there, can we just, I'm just trying to go in order so I don't mess myself up. 8919, I see a picture of an incredibly handsome man sitting next to me. I believe appears to be drinking a clear liquid drink. Is there any?
The picture you're talking about of Shan Stillwell?
8919, yes.
Yep. So after that post, this is, I believe, close in time to when they had the memorial for Big Boo. I'm trying to find that page number, but it says we have to do it for Big Boo. These people are lacking, as in they don't have firearms on them, so they're easier to.
Well, I mean, they're talking about drinking.
Right.
Boy, you still drinking? Where you at? I got to do it for Boo. These niggas lacking. Like, they're not doing enough to honor him or whatever. I don't know that you can say, I mean, you can say, oh, that means they don't have guns on them, but that would be quite a stretch.
Yeah.
Given the context in which it comes up.
Yes, Your Honor. We will not use that page.
All righty. So not the picture, not that page. So 8921 is like a snap of somebody's text. Is that in here for any reason?
Let me get to that page, 8920, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, 8921. It comes right after 8920.
So that screenshot of the text thread,
Uh-huh.
that it's referencing to the same female who's
The girl?
who's
Okay,
referencing
so that's
both sides.
out.
Yes, Your Honor.
8922 is out. So now we're on 797 and 798. What's that in here for?